Hi, Sarah.
Here we are. Venus
Yep.
is direct.
And Mercury was Cazimi just yesterday.
Oh, Cazimi. That means that it was conjunct the sun. They had Mercury sitting in the lap
It
of the sun.
means that Mercury switched from being the, the evening evening Mercury to a morning, but Mercury switches which side it's on.
Oh,
Mercury has always been a they.
that's right. Yes.
It's always been, you know, yeah, a switch hitter, so to speak. My mother would have said.
Right. Yes, that it has that sort of androgynous quality to it, which we
Absolutely.
like. We like the trickster, the shapeshifter, the could be, and
Right.
you have access to all of them.
The don't pin me down.
Like it.
Mhm.
So, what does that mean now that Venus is direct and Mercury is just done a Cazimi with the sun? What does that mean?
Well, I think we need a forensic audit of the summer. I think everybody needs to like look back to the summer and say, what's changed? Um, yeah, how have I or how have I not um, adapted myself to this new reality that we seem to be living in, right? I mean, obviously, if you live in Yellowknife or Kelowna, it's a bit more, or Hawaii, it's a bit more dramatic. But I think everybody is resonating with the the fact that this summer, if you think about it, well, it's always the hottest summer on record, but it's also the things that are happening in the world, and I mean, there's so much happening. China's economy is no longer totally count onable.
Mm-hmm.
I think that feels huge to me. Not that I know what it means exactly, but it's there's so many things that are um, not clicking into place, but moving from where you thought they were going to be, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So the whole notion of the summer holidays and um, travel, there's that, right? And then there's, what does it mean to go out when it's 40 degrees and, stuff like that. Like, can you ride your bike? You have to be hydrated. You have to like bring an intravenous hydrating apparatus with you. I don't know why I'm laughing, but it is, it's like, so it's so we're moving, things are changing. And I'd say the changes were, Venus square Jupiter, Venus square Uranus. So and then Mercury retrograde. So Mercury retrograde on top of it all. The Mercury retrograde was kind of trine Pluto and the Mercury direct. So there's a new moon on the 14th and Mercury goes direct on the 15th. And the new moon is trining Uranus. And so there's a kind of earthy positiveness going on. I mean, I don't know if I can see it maybe in my own life a bit, um, but I'm not sure that we can see it in the world. But it does seem like the new moon and Mercury going direct are together, right? So there's a sense of really, that's when we really, if I was in charge, I wouldn't start the school year until the new moon in Virgo and Mercury going direct. So I think there's Rosh Hashanah is at the new moon, right? So it's a really powerful beginning to the year.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to hear. And it is right close to the equinox, however you want to say it.
Yeah,
Which is
it's the new moon before the equinox.
mhm.
And it's got Earth trines in it. So it's basically saying able to look at what changed or what needs to change, you could implement it most likely. Your intention to live in that way would be a very good one to make it the new moon.
I see. Yes, because it did seem to me when we spoke last that the Mercury retrograde in Virgo, Mercury being in its exaltation, is that the correct way to say it, or at least being in its own?
Well, Mercury rules and is exalted in Virgo. Couldn't be better.
Right. And then it was trining Jupiter. So my hope was that it would help us to, like you said, do a forensic audit on what the hell happened over the summer. And hell is operative because Venus did go into the underworld. And so I did speak to a lot of, well, women specifically about being on a meat hook. And when I brought up that imagery, a lot of them were like, oh, that explains it. I was talking yesterday to a friend and she didn't know anything about it. And I told her about the meat hook and she's like, oh my God, I've been watching a story on Netflix about a woman on a meat hook.
No, I was like literally on a meat hook.
It was like, it is something, it's a Brazilian movie or something. And she said, oh, yeah, that's why I was drawn to that movie. So that is so literal.
That is literal. That's really funny. I hope she gets off the meat hook like the woman in the myth.
Yes. Well, I'm gonna check into it. But my friend is definitely getting off the hook. And I feel like I am as well. So I was hopeful for this Mercury retrograde in terms of its capacity to help integrate and understand the forensic audit, understand, what that was all about and what the drama of it, because it was in Leo. So there was quite a bit of drama. So understanding what that was and what that is, and this is very also good news to hear that the Earth trine of Uranus and Mercury being practical, being able to sort of make practical steps and bring some of that.
And particularly if you are able to grasp what has changed. One of the things about Venus and Leo is Leo's a creative sign. Like there's a lot of creativity. Leo is about self-expression or creative expression, right? And so it could even be creative projects that, need some structure underneath them to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The new moon is a very good time to consider what the structure underneath our creative projects are that would allow them to happen, as opposed to because of the squares, as opposed to the frustration that we might have felt over the last couple of months.
Right. And then is the square between Venus and Jupiter over now?
No. The square between Venus and Jupiter is September 17th, and the square between Venus and Uranus is September 29th. And those are, I think after September 29th is the end of the Venus retrograde. After that last square, she doesn't really do much after that. I don't know if she does anything. And you can always go on my website and read my insights or come to the New Moon group if you want. It's open to everybody. But that there is nothing else that she really does in Leo that's worth it. So you could say that between the 17th and the 29th of September, so new moon, trine Jupiter, trine Uranus, basically saying, oh my God, I could do it this way. I'm going to do that, right? That kind of intention. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And that's
Uranus being like good ideas, revelations. Like,
in Taurus though, Earth, right? I'm going to put that over there.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to actually, sign up for the course, right? Whatever it is. So I think Venus completes her journey when it makes the square to Uranus on the 29th.
Okay. Yes. Right. Because she's off the meat hook, but she's still rising up from the underworld at this
Oh,
point.
she's off the meat hook.
Yeah.
She's determined. She's going forward. She's got her axes to grind. She's putting back her crown and stuff, and she's going. In the story, she goes back, and her husband, I guess, or her consort, has taken over her throne. So she goes back and claims her throne, and then she has to give somebody to the underworld in her place, because that's how it works in the underworld.
Oh,
okay. So she gives him in her place, and of course that makes sense because it's a winter myth, right? So he's the god, he's like the green man, and she says, well, in the winter you're out of limit, you're off limits, you're done,
right.
Right, and then she gets back on her throne.
Right. Similar with Persephone too, who goes down for
well, except Persephone doesn't leave someone in her place. Persephone goes back and forth on her own.
Right.
And so her mother, who is a green goddess, like the green man, the green woman, grieves when her daughter is in the underworld, and so we have winter.
Right.
So pick your myth. I mean, feel free to choose your myth at any given time of the year. But it's the same story.
Yeah, this works. So she's getting ready. She's putting on back all of her accoutrements, her crown, her tiara, her robes, her breastplate, she's picking up her sword. She's returning to get her.
And I say, she's taking a lot of shots at patriarchy, not necessarily by saying patriarchy sucks, but by showing how it's just full of wormholes and lies and
yeah, corruption.
And that's the issue. The issue is, well, I just want to live my life, right? But I don't want to live my life without the green belt, right? I don't want to live my life and think that people are dying of mercury poison because of the government, right? So yeah, I think protests will get more and more.
Yeah, I was interesting because I was at my doctor's office yesterday, and the CP24 happened to be on. I try not to watch it, but anyway, it had the hearing or some sort of some sort of legal thing about the green belt, and they had the leader of the Green Party talking about how this is exactly what you're talking about, how much of the green belt, Ford was saying is all weeds, and he was saying, no, this is farmland that has been farmland for generations, like valuable.
Let's call a spade a spade.
Yes, and the farmers do want to farm it, and it's some of the most valuable farmland in the world.
No kidding.
Like it's best soil in the world, and they want to plow over it. So I was happy to hear.
And they want to build big houses.
Yeah,
they want to build those big houses.
Yeah. It's it's not equal value, it's not equal value. But to your point, but it's coming out. People are talking about it.
Yeah, they're calling it. I don't know what will happen, but I don't think they're going to give up. I don't think they'll give up, the people who don't like it.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then there's the trial for the convoy thing. That's interesting. Sort of bringing up a whole lot of stuff about that. And they have a really good lawyer.
Good. I want them to have a good lawyer.
Yeah, they have a really good lawyer. It'll be very interesting to see how that goes with the Mercury retrograde. And I don't know how long it's supposed to last, but it started with Mercury retrograde. So.
Right.
And it started as Venus is coming out of the underworld. So.
Oh, good point.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. So, yeah, so that's things that's some real good illustrations. And it's just so interesting on a personal level too. And I don't think you can make this up. Like, even though I knew Venus was going direct, things really did seem to level up or level out.
Same for me.
The day that Venus went direct, I was like, this is so accurate.
Yeah.
So that's good. Yeah, so then we have that to look forward to. There's a little bit of tumultuousness at the end on September 29th.
Well, I think on September, so new moon on the 14th, Mercury direct on the 15th. So that's a kind of forward moving. Then Venus square Jupiter on the 17th and Uranus on the 29th. So it feels to me like there's a kind of sense of, okay, let's get on with it. You know, we're finally moving into the new year, the school year, whatever your year is, that starts in the fall. Everyone feels that the year starts in the fall on some level, right? Because we all went to school. We all went back to school, you know, all those days of our lives. And so I feel like the idea after the new moon is that we need to be committed to what it is, what's foundational in our lives as we go forward. That's different than how it was, you know, that's changed over the summer.
Right, right.
So I think for individuals, it could be almost anything. Like, you know, it could be little things and it could be big things.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not, I don't have exactly examples in my, but you know, I don't want to rat people out who are my clients, but but I'm seeing it, you know, where people are kind of gathering on a very positive level, gathering their strengths and resources and wanting to take on the project, wanting to do the thing.
Right. Okay. This is hopeful. And then there are a lot of planets retrograde. Like there was Venus at one point. It was Venus and Mercury and Jupiter Jupiter and Venus traded off. I think
they did.
Like Venus went direct and Jupiter started going backwards, and Saturn, I think, and you're like, what does that mean when so many planets are retrogrades? Like, what does that mean? Like, sort of generally.
I think of it as a kind of, you know, like when waves break on the shore and then there's the undertow. When there's a lot of planets retrograde, it's like you're in the undertow, but the wave is going to break on the shore.
Right.
Like don't kid yourself. And the wave breaks because the personal planets go direct, because Venus goes direct and Mercury goes direct. And, you know, but Jupiter's kind of pulling something back. I mean, Jupiter's journey is interesting because it was so much a part of the square to Venus, the Venus retrograde. So anyone who had Venus doing something in their chart had Jupiter doing something in their chart. I think it's interesting, and I said this on my podcast that I do, I'm pretty sure, that Jupiter stationed conjunct a fixed star called Menkar, which is in it's the whale, or it's the Leviathan constellation. And so it's about bringing stuff up from the unconscious. It's like the Loch Ness Monster constellation, right? And it comes up. So it's interesting that Jupiter is retrograde on that point in terms of world events, you know, that it's bringing stuff up from the unconscious, but it's bringing them up retrograde. It's kind of throwing them on the beach and saying, so what are you going to do with this?
Right.
Like, this is a problem. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
So I don't think in the lives of individual, well, if you have something at 14 or 15 degrees of Taurus or a fixed sign, you might be feeling Jupiter very acutely.
Right. Specifically pulling things up.
Yeah, but it's so I have that chart. Venus went stationary direct on my Pluto, very close to my Saturn, and Jupiter went stationary conjunct my North Node, so they square each other, right? And I don't feel it as a terrible thing. I feel it as a real desire to dive deeper into the unconscious, like into the dark, into learning more about the dark, right? So it's Jupiter. I want to learn more. I want to study more about the places, because people just love to say you have to own your shadow and you have to know what's in your unconscious, but it's impossible to own your shadow and know what's in your unconscious, because as soon as you do, there's something else in your unconscious. Right?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah. And the world right now is so traumatized by everything that's happening that people are acting kind of funny. I was just reading an article that someone sent me that's quite good on this topic. But the it's the collective unconscious that's erupting, right? And so people are, there's more shootings and more crazy people making us all crazy, and people thinking they can do things that they shouldn't absolutely do at all. So yeah, I think Menkar is afoot. I think Jupiter stationary conjunct Menkar is something to consider what you want to do with it if it's in your chart.
Yeah, and how to approach it. So being the, I know you'll hate me saying this, but being the master traveler that you are, and being, like the teacher that you are, you've decided to put it to use for healing, for learning, for betterment, for helping others.
But I wasn't thinking, oh, Jupiter's conjunct Menkar, Venus is conjunct Pluto. This is what's hard to explain to people. I wasn't thinking about that at all. And then what can I do? Because Venus is going direct on my Pluto. What happened was I made a decision to do, I got interested in something. And then I went, oh my God, that's Venus on my Pluto. How specific could that be?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it would be very, very hard to sort of stay on top of all of one's transits like that, like from a mental capacity. It has to be, it's much deeper than that. It's just understanding
Right.
how you are not being compelled by the planets, but how you are aligning with them. Like, how are you expressing?
Right. So it's validating.
Yeah. And there's different, I don't know, there's like the term lower octave, higher octave. There's like there's a way you can work even the most challenging planets from a place of healing and like raising your consciousness, as opposed to just going into the abyss.
Right. People who know enough astrology look at, hard transits and they go, oh my God, like it's going to be awful. But it's often depends on how we deal with it.
Yeah.
It is awful. I mean, there are awful things going on, but it's interesting.
It's always interesting. That's what keeps me going. My curiosity. I'm always curious how this is going to end.
Yeah, we should be, Homo curious, not wise. We're not Homo sapiens. We're Homo curious.
I like that we're evolving into Homo curiousums.
Well, look what our curiosity has killed the cat, but we'll see if we can bring it back.
Truly. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. Oh, I wondered, when you were talking about the Leviathan, it made me think of that movie, which I know nothing about, but it's called Meg. And I guess
I don't know it.
It's like a horror movie, like kind of Jaws style, but it's about like a megalithic creature that's like,
Meg.
historic, that's in the water, that's like rising. I believe that's what it's about, but it's called Meg, right? Like they named it Meg as if it's this cute little female.
Oh, so this is a new movie.
Yeah, I think it has come out. It did come out, or it is coming out. I saw the coming soon poster a while ago. So
how perfect for a Jupiter stationary conjunct Menkar to have a megalithic monster coming to a theater near you.
Depths.
From the depths, yeah. Well, I mean, that's what's happening in the collective. That is what's happening.
Yeah.
There's a huge unconscious, like people yeah, there's a lot of unconscious material
Yeah.
that's kind of being vomited up or whatever.
Yeah. You'd be prehistoric from our own history.
Yeah, I guess. There's a better word than intergenerational, interarcanal. It's
Oh,
arcane. Oh, yeah.
interarcanal. That's a good word. I like that word.
Well, it sounds a bit anal. I don't know if it's really good. Although, it's coming up from somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, those words. Okay. Well, that's a great update, Julie. And we'll tune in hopefully before the next full moon, which is in Aries. So
The next full moon or the next new moon?
well, yeah, we could tune in after the new moon because I guess that's on this.
The next new moon is in Libra,
Oh,
and it will be an eclipse.
oh, right.
And
Okay.
so, because now the nodes, in July, the nodes went back into Aries and Libra from Taurus and Scorpio. So now the eclipses are around Libra and Aries, not Taurus and Scorpio. It's a whole new eclipse season, they call it. So we have an annular solar eclipse on October 14th, which is new moon, and we have a partial lunar eclipse on October 28th. So that's that's news.
Okay, so we'll tune in before that happens so we can get some astro wisdom from you.
Astro wisdom. Well, the conversation is good. I like the conversation.
Okay, thanks, Julie.
Thank you.